to Pineapple Couch with B-Rob. Today is Monday, February 1st. Happy February. And today's episode is episode 79 of the Pineapple Couch with B-Rob. You can subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. And as well as we'll have videos on YouTube. You can check that out. Should be out tomorrow morning. This is coming out Monday night, so the YouTube video should be out tomorrow morning. For today's episode, we got a loaded show, and I am joined by Andrew Radcliffe and Josh Bilker to talk about the latest trade in the NFL regarding Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, some early Super Bowl thoughts, as well as a look at the Super Bowl MVP. We're going to talk a little MLB with Big Dawg, whose article is up on the pineapplecouch.com right now, titled Let the Kids Play, so you should go check that out. And then we're also going to dive into some NBA, and then later on in the pod, good friend of the program, Mitch Rincon, is going to join, and we're going to do a draft of our top 10 albums of all time. So a lot of good stuff in store today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into it. Big Dawg, how you doing?
Super Bowl week, baseball's hot in the streets. Baseball's right around the corner.
Let's go. Shout out to you, Fernando Tatis, on the cover of the show.
Oh, shout out to the King, El Nino. Thank you, my savior.
First Padre and youngest player ever.
And the coolest San Diegan of all time, I think. He is already up there with Tony Gwynn.
Easy.
Oh, and Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers, thank you. Josh Bilker, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. It's been a little hiatus, but we're back and getting
Glad
back
to have
on
you
the swing
back.
of things.
You're back for the Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, blockbuster trade in the NFL. Kind of like a few years ago when Alex Smith got traded to the Washington Redskins, at the time now football team. But I think this has a lot more implications than that trade, even though that trade kind of unbirthed Patrick Mahomes. Let's go through the trade. Matt Stafford is traded to the Los Angeles Rams from the Detroit Lions. The Rams, they get Matt Stafford. The Lions are going to get Jared Goff, a Rams first rounder in 2022 and 2023, as well as a 2021 third round pick. Big Dawg, initial reaction to this trade? Go.
So the first thing I thought of was because I wasn't I didn't think Jared Goff was that great this year or the past year. And we know Sean McVay was half the reason why he's successful there. And then he's going to go to Detroit, where Matt Stafford could find zero success. And then he's going to be paired up with Anthony Lynn.
Brob.
I feel bad. I don't dislike Jared Goff that much. I would never wish that upon anyone. I don't even wish that upon Steven. I'm sorry, Steven.
Yeah, it's tough. I like Jared Goff. I can't tell if I like Jared Goff because how good they have been against the spread, or I don't know. He's a California guy.
I mean, they've been good, but that's how good the Rams can be. It's because
I will
defense
say this,
can carry him, but
it's not over for Jared Goff. I do not think his story is done, but we will see. Josh, question to you on this. How good is this Rams team going to be with Matt Stafford? Is this a giant upgrade? Or are we overrating it a little? Because I want to say really quickly before you go, my dad always says, and I'm sorry, Steven, he says that Matt Stafford's the best quarterback in the league at throwing garbage time touchdowns, which I know he's been in Detroit and things have not been perfect for him by any means. But what are your expectations? Because the internet expectations are very high, Josh.
It's an improvement, obviously. I think we're unanimous there, right? That obviously Stafford is better than Goff. However, I don't think this immediately puts them into, super team contention or anything like that. I don't think it's as near as a massive upgrade as we think. But Stafford is a complete. He's a period, I guess. He's not a question mark anymore like Jared Goff was.
To butt in with Jared Goff, the Rams were the last remaining NFC West team in the play. They beat the Seahawks in the playoffs. So we can say what we want about Jared Goff, but that's where they finished this year. So
Still
would you say are they the favorite, Josh, then?
Well, so that's an interesting question. Is I don't know if they're even the best team in the NFC West, and that's what I was thinking about. I don't even know if they're the second best team. That's the thing is all four teams I could see a case for being the favorite out of that division because you have obviously the Seahawks with Russell Wilson, and if they get their defense figured out with Jamal Adams, that could easily be a guarantee. The Niners coming back after an injury-riddled season, and then you have the Cardinals getting a year older with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, the whole fucking division, and that's before even a Deshaun Watson trade potentially to the Niners as well.
Andrew, how much pressure is on the 49ers right now to upgrade from Jimmy G? Or is there any pressure?
So there's definitely pressure. I think it's just more of like, holy crap, we should get this guy because how many times is a 25-year-old quarterback requesting a trade with his talent?
Franchise-changing quarterback, yeah.
And first of all, how much better? Do you think the Rams are better than, let's say the Niners are the Niners are the team last year. With Matt Stafford, are the Rams better next year? No. And that's how I feel. I don't think, like you said, Josh, it's an improvement, but it's not like
legendarily good team, I thought.
So did I. And just like because they got Matt Stafford, like I think it's a marginal difference. Like it helps and it's better, but it's like, what has Matt Stafford done in the playoffs? Like we don't know.
Nothing.
We don't know. He's only done things when he's down 28-10. He can just chuck it up to Megatron, then he can chuck it up to Burleson and whoever else is there.
Holiday.
And Holiday. But
here's the thing though, is this is potentially Stafford could be the key that finally unlocks Sean McVay's offense to the fullest of its ability. This is the guy I think Sean McVay wanted, so that way he can do exactly what he wants. Because I think he compromised a lot for Jared Goff, obviously, to make things simpler and just run things and make him look good. You said it was like half of Jared Goff's success. I think it's like 3/4 of Jared Goff's success with Sean McVay, and that's the big thing. I think that's Stafford in a good situation with pretty good receivers. We'll see, and obviously not a legendary defense, but this defense is really fucking good. It was like number 1 or 2 going into the last season. So I think that we could. I mean, this is the defining career moment for Stafford, I guess. If he can get it done here, like he's a for sure Hall of Famer for sure.
Here, I'm gonna come in here. More and more I think about this, I do think that there is around a 50% chance that next year the Rams are like, we just traded 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 26-year-old quarterback for an aging quarterback in Matt Stafford, who has had horrendous injuries. There is a chance that Jared Goff is it's like, oh, he wasn't that bad. I think there's that. I don't think that's off the table. That's why I'm saying that. Because when you put it like that, I know you can talk all the shit we want on Jared Goff's contract, which is all true. What I just said, though, that's true. They traded a 26-year-old quarterback and 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-rounder for a 30. Is he 32 or is he older?
33
at least.
33? Who's had a lot of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And
honestly, thought he was like 36.
He's never been to the playoffs, has he?
He's been in the playoffs. They went
one
time. They were 11-5. Yeah. I think they lost to the Saints. I'm pretty sure, like 6 years ago.
I think they lost to the Cowboys too, actually, because I think Sue did like something debaucherous. I remember he's like stepped on with some of the Cowboys player. I forgot who it was, but I remember that being like something in my mind. That was the year of the catch with Dez.
That was like I was the same as you guys. I didn't have an overreaction really. Like that was like, that's good, that's an upgrade, but it's like for a team that already doesn't have draft picks because they traded away draft picks to get Jared Goff, and then they're going to trade more away to get
Jalen Ramsey
quarterback who's 7 years older. It's interesting.
So last case though I want to make about this is the NFC is still super up in the air. I feel like even the Buccaneers, they're not going to be a perennial favorite here because the AFC is pretty much. I think the Chiefs. What the
Bucs
will
be back next year
until he's rolled off a car, until he retires. I mean,
but
what do we have to say?
Tom Brady. What I'm saying is like Tom Brady. He's got. I mean, he's obviously it's Tom Brady. I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady, but he's got to start regressing eventually. There's going to be a time.
It doesn't even. God's honest. Like God and Tim Tebow, God and Tom. It does not matter. Tom Brady threw 3. Could not have played worse. He could not have played worse the second half and given the Packers more of a chance to come back and win. And they still didn't do it. the Packers.
I don't know about 2 years. I think for the next year and the year after, I think Tom Brady will be around. Going after that, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That was what I'm saying. Is he's a fucking. But continue, Josh. Sorry.
But the Rams have probably the best defense, I think. If you were to bet on it, right, going in year and no, you don't think so. What's the best defense?
The San Francisco 49ers with a healthy defense.
That's a good point.
That San Francisco 49ers defense was better than this year's Rams just a year ago. And Nick Bosa was hurt. Nick Bosa was arguably better than Aaron Donald in his rookie year. I know that's crazy, but Nick Bosa was that effective. I think if that 49ers defense is healthy, that is the best defense in the NFL.
That's fair. I still think that the Rams...
too quickly.
Jalen Ramsey, though, I still think is the best cornerback in the league. And the Niners secondary's got to be regressing eventually because I don't think Sherman's going to be... I don't know how much good years Sherman has left, for instance, either. But that you're right. Pass rush wise, I think maybe the Niners definitely have more weapons, but Aaron Donald is Aaron
Let's take
Donald.
a second also to recognize how good the Bucs defense has been in the playoffs. I'm not saying it's to the level of those what we're talking about, but damn. Great run for them.
They're really fucking good. Absolutely. But my point is that the NFC is just still kind of up in the air. And I think that if you can kind of seize whatever you can, I mean, the Rams maybe, if they could have beaten the Packers, who knows what would have happened then from there. I don't know. So, I mean, and maybe Stafford's the answer to that. And also the receiver class, this free agency is probably the best I can ever think of in recent memory.
Who's in it?
It's Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, and Corey Davis is like the top 4 names. But there's a lot of other guys that are still like pretty significant. But I think Allen Robinson and Godwin are legitimate wide receiver ones for that'll change a team for sure. And Golladay too.
I can tell you one thing: if Tom Brady comes back, there's no way in hell Chris Godwin's leaving.
We'll see.
Why would I just don't like? I don't know. I had Andrew. So it came out that the Rams did approach the Green Bay Packers about A-Raj. And the Packers said, no way. No, we're not talking. Are you 100% sure Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers next year?
I'm like 85% certain. I feel very confident in it because, I mean, he's coming off an MVP year, the back-to-back NFC championships. Do the fans, I don't think the fans hate, I mean, why would you want to get rid of that? I mean, it's most of it's
I
not
would
Aaron
think
Rodgers.
he would want to leave.
If anything,
that's what I was
That's
thinking.
true. But
they're going to sign a receiver.
Because I think he's staying. He owns the Milwaukee.
Saying that his whole career, though.
I know, but they're gonna get another guy, and they're gonna keep him. That's my take. I think they're gonna get probably Corey Davis, probably not like one of the super top guys, but they're gonna get him like a legit decent wide receiver that he's gonna turn into a Pro Bowler, probably.
But would you say that the Packers' offensive weapons were the problem this year? See, I wouldn't. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling is very good. Devontae Adams is very good. I don't know if adding a wide receiver is necessarily what makes that team better. I don't know.
I don't know
Aaron
about
Jones and Jamal Williams are good too.
Yeah,
they're really just.
I don't love Valdez.
Okay, honestly, the reason they lost is because Matt LaFleur sucks. Matt LaFleur is great, and they're 26-6. You made an all-time no call at one of the worst times of all time. You mean you literally gave the ball, you conceded and waved the white flag and said, "Tom Brady, good luck getting 10 yards against our defense." That was the bet with 2 minutes left.
Roasting all day too. So
yeah,
fucking train wreck.
I think it's more of that than anything. To end this, I think the Niners should do everything because I feel like they can do flexibility and they have enough players to entice a dumb team like the Texans to get Deshaun. Because if they get Deshaun Watson, I think it's perfect because they're set up for 13 years. They have their guy for 13 years.
This is a monumental moment though if Deshaun Watson gets traded because. That's here we are. We're the NBA.
Yeah, I know. And it's scary because he's going to get traded, I think.
I do too.
There's too much bad blood. And I think that the Texans hired some coach that I don't think people were very excited about last week. I don't know his name, but I forget. But they're not very excited about it.
Okay. Guys, let's go a little more football before we go to MLB. Way too early Super Bowl thoughts. I mean, just a couple days early. We're going to be back on later in the week to give out our final Super Bowl predictions, as well as some bets, some like side props, all that shit. But right now the Chiefs are favored by a field goal, 3 points. The Bucks money line you can get at plus 145, over under 56.5. Josh, I'm going to go to you first. What is your initial lean on this game? You don't need to give out any crazy picks right now because you can let marinate for the rest of the week. But what's your thought process going into this? That's what we're each going to do. We're not going to give out picks, but we're going to talk about our thought process, and we will approach it again Thursday or Friday.
All right, so I'm going to stick with my guns. I had Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs. So,
Same.
Yeah, so shouts to you and me.
2 years in a row. 2 years in a row.
Bills Seahawks.
Bills, it's still there. It's still there.
I wish the Bills were there. If that helps, Andrew.
I'm gonna still lean Chiefs here. I had the Chiefs by I think six or 3 points with my score prediction, but I'm gonna stick with them. I just think Patrick Mahomes looks too fucking good. The Chiefs have looked too good. So I'm going to spend this time instead actually arguing against myself because that's what I think I do best. The Chiefs lost to Eric Fisher, who was one of their best offensive linemen. That completely changes things in a Bucks pass rush that completely dominated Aaron Rodgers last week, if we're being completely honest. So that's the thing that scares me, is that the deep ball might not be there from Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to be able to let plays develop as much. As they're not going to have a lot of clean pockets, shorten things. Patrick Mahomes is good enough, though. I think it might not matter. But that's the biggest concern to me is just how good this Bucks, how fast they've looked is the biggest thing that I've noticed always with this Bucks defense. That's what scares me, I guess. And that's the if you believe in the Bucks, that's the way for them to win this game. It's their pass rush completely.
Yeah, well, before I go to you, Andrew, I had Bucks Chiefs before the playoffs. Last year I had 49ers Chiefs, and I bet on the 49ers, and I was wrong about that. I think Tom Brady and the Bucks win. I had that going in. I think I said 27-24 in our initial pod. I think Tom Brady gets his 7th Super Bowl. That's what I'm leaning right now. I'll go into it more, but later. But Andrew, I think Tom Brady's
my heart and my personal say, I want Tom Brady to win. I want to see 7. I want to see the greatest of all time that we've talked about. But I think the Chiefs win. I don't think the Chiefs lose this game at all. I know it's Tom Brady. I just think the Chiefs are too good. I think the analogy that got a little corrected last week, it's the Jordan beating the Magic Lakers in 1990. And I think it's kind of passing the torch to, here you go. And the last time they played, Patrick Mahomes is salivating over this game because the last time they met was in the AFC Championship. You remember how close he was? It was, the offside. The Tom Brady thing, which might happen again. He gets those freaking calls. But my heart says I want to see Tom Brady win because Patrick Mahomes will have another 15 years to do this for.
Just torture me. I'm so over the Chiefs. Fuck them.
I'm so over, but you know they're going to win.
I don't. I think you could say that against any other team, Andrew. But I think that it's Tom Brady. And, dude, this defense.
I know, but it's Pat Mahomes. It just doesn't matter. The same thing with the Bills, and they were down 9-0, 10-0, and they just hit on a switch, and for 3 quarters, it was 38.
I love the Stallion. He's not Tom Brady. This is going to be okay. Well, let me say this to you guys. I think it's going to be a close ass game. What do you think?
So there was something with like Tom Brady. Usually it's 0-0 or 3-0.
They played earlier this year, and it was a close ass game.
And it's going to be close.
I don't know. See, that's the thing is I was thinking about that too, and how much stock we take into that game. I think it was week 11 or 12, but the Chiefs kind of laid off the gas pedal.
They were act like the Bucks have gotten better over the course of the season?
But see, that was the game. That was the turning point game.
Boom, boom, boom. He threw 3 picks.
They've been like boom, boom, boom. We're in the Super Bowl.
But that second half, if you throw 3 picks, 2 or 3 picks, I don't think the Packers are that much better defensively than the Chiefs. What's the difference between that? Pat Mahomes will make you pay if you have 2 or 3 turnovers. It's going to be those. That's 21 points automatically. And it's different than
I don't think we see Tom Brady
Mahomes
turn
is.
the
I mean,
ball
we
over in
know
the
that
Super Bowl, though.
It is. What was that?
I don't think we're going to see Tom Brady turn the ball over like that in the Super Bowl. I could be wrong. Andrew, really quick. Didn't those turnovers in the second half, like, I think one was like that was all on Brady, but the other two were like a lot
There
of the
might have
times
been like
Brady's
there
throwing picks
probably a
this year. It's like
miscommunication or just
Mike
like
Evans fucking up miscommunications, I feel like. Right?
that could happen too because
I mean, I know it's Tom Brady. It's not like 3 picks in a game he won is gonna change anything. But I mean, yeah, I think the Chiefs should be favored. Andrew, it's
like
like
how
you
I
say how
kind of
Tom
look
Brady
at
has
it.
God on his side. Like, dude, he
He does.
took the Bucks to the Super Bowl year 1, and it's
I
just
know, I
like
don't, and he's 43. He was supposed to be done 5 years ago, and he's had an
and an
incredible
MVP. Like since Max Kellerman said he's like going off a cliff or washed or whatever, he's
23, right?
literally had a Hall of Fame career. So, really quick, before we go to MLB Big Dog, I just want to go over the Super Bowl MVP odds. Mahomes is the favorite at -120, Brady at +200, Kelsey and Hill at +1,000, Fournette at +2,500, and Godwin at +3,000. If the Bucks win, Brady's getting it.
Yeah,
So that's that +200.
and
I
I'd say
do think
value-wise, Kelsey's the guy to go
Kelsey is, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
for plus 1,000.
Is anything going to really give Tyreek Hill the Super Bowl MVP? Didn't he like hit a woman or something?
Think he's had some allegation or something against him.
I don't know. I just think that like the one thing that his like Mahomes' greatness has kind of overshadowed in a way. Travis Kelsey is probably having the greatest season of a tight end ever.
Yeah.
Like
And I just think
kind of
he'll be
not
involved.
close.
I think he
Like,
would get 8 more catches regardless. Like Tyreek Hill might have his big 80-yard touchdown, but I think
yeah, he broke
Kelsey's
the AFC
going to get a
like,
touchdown, and Kelsey will get at least
13
100 yards, and he'll
receptions.
get 12 catches too.
Yeah.
So I see it.
So Josh, do you agree that if the Bucks win, it's Brady will get the MVP?
Not necessarily. I think like story narrative wise, yes, absolutely. But if I'm right in the fact that the defense wins this game, I'm looking at some guy like maybe Jason Pierre-Paul
Levante
or
David. Levante David.
Levante David.
If any
Nebraska
guy
corners.
deserves to get a Super
He
Bowl
does.
He's
MVP
gonna
after
get
a
strip
long
sack
badass
fumble or
career,
something.
That's
Levante David's been a badass for like 10 years.
He's got to get the stats is the problem though, and I don't know if that gets him there because he's going to be all over this game completely, but it's going to be things that you're not going to be able to see on the box score. And so I'm looking at more guys on the pass rush side where it's like who's the guy that led the league in sacks last year?
Shaq Barrett.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking at Shaq Barrett and like Jason Pierre-Paul. If you want good value, because I guarantee those are like probably 10,000 almost or something, something crazy.
Yeah. I mean, because if it starts off like that Seahawk Bronco game, they get a couple of safety and a sack.
Exactly. Especially
Yeah.
to do that against Mahomes. I think that would be something.
Okay. Big Dog. Let's talk a little MLB baseball. As I mentioned earlier on the pod, you can go to thepineapplecouch.com. Our latest article is Big Dog. Big Dog is going to be doing a lot of MLB content for us this season. We're going to have blogs up on the Pineapple Couch. And folks, don't worry. I'm going to start writing again and get some NBA stuff up there. Maybe Josh will too. Josh will probably talk about NBA as a whole, but I'll just be a degenerate and talk about gambling probably. I'm going to talk a lot about the March Madness coming up. But Big Dog, we're going to be doing weekly, hopefully, segments of the Pineapple Couch where it's going to be you talking about baseball, and sometimes you'll maybe have on a guest. Sometimes it'll be you solo. Sometimes I'll hop on with you. We'll see. But we're looking forward to covering this baseball season. This is going to be a big part of the coverage, obviously, when football ends. Take it away. Let's talk about your article. Let the kids play.
So, little baseball update. Right now, we're trying to figure out what kind of season baseball wants to have. Last year, they had a bunch of new rules. They had the 60-game season. They had an expanded playoffs, universal DH, 7-inning doubleheaders, stuff like that they're allowed to do, and they had the flexibility to do because last year during COVID and everything. So this year is the final year before the CBA agreement, which is where the players are going to go and meet and basically discuss how baseball should be run from ownership to the players union. And the owners and Rob Manfred basically offered a reasonable, I think, like, because they added rules that people liked in there. They like, oh, you can have this universal DH, 154 games instead of 162, and you'll get the full pay and everything like that. I know it's 8 games, but the big twist about that, it wouldn't start until April 28th. And so
like
players, that? I don't like that.
Okay.
I don't like starting at April 28th, and the players don't like that simply for the reason that
it's going to be in like November if that happens.
So that, but basically the players are just afraid because they sit like in the contract and things like, hey, if you play 154 games, you'll get your money's worth. But if they already pushed that month back, and then if there's, nobody can predict COVID and what's going to happen in the summer. If there's a new variant, if people are, they don't want to take the vaccine, stuff like that. Basically, what was I saying?
Why the players don't want an 154 game season.
Oh, yeah, they don't want the 154 game season because they're afraid Rob Manfred
is going to cancel some games and dock their pay,
and then they can dictate their pay from there. And so that is a big red flag for the players.
He's definitely going to try and do that,
and he's definitely going to do that. And especially the main thing he's trying to do in his ad, he's trying to sneak in the expanded playoff. That's like the biggest thing there, and everyone's like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's all about just making revenue, and it's going to become like basketball, where I think it's not that good of a model because it's like, what's the incentive of playing up for 6 months and 162 games if more than half the team or 14 teams make it? It's like, what does that mean for the Dodgers? That means nothing. And as we learned last year, a weird team like the Marlins can beat a pretty good team like the Cubs that they got in the playoffs, and they beat them and they made it to the NLDS. And it was just kind of like stupid because the Cubs had 9-10 more wins, which really would translate to 20 in a full season. Mm-hmm. The next rule we have here. So, like, the universal DH is thrown in there.
Mm-hmm. Mainly, we like the universal DH.
I love the universal DH.
I kind of I'm on the fence. I like it, but I also
think
don't.
Most
I don't
people
hate
and players like it.
I don't hate pitchers batting like some people do. I don't know. I think it's kind of.
I think most players, and I think the pitchers, and I think everyone for the most part likes that because you can reconstruct your team in a way where it's like, wow, if I can get a David Ortiz, that changes my team compared to just having my pitcher hit.
JD Martinez.
And JD Martinez, it's why the American League always has an extra amazing hitter, and it's just kind of ridiculously unfair. Like Prince Fielder. I mean, it creates more job. I think it's the stupidest thing in the world that they don't do that. So, I mean, basically, the owners are just trying to get money through the expanded playoffs, and they throw the universal DH in there at the players, and it just kind of pisses them off, and it's like a slap in the face in a way. And the reason they don't like the expanded playoffs is because
it's like an out for owners.
It's like so the owners basically there's no
get bailed out for not paying money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to try that hard because there's teams like the Padres are all in now. But if you go to the Royals, Brewers, Central teams, Pirates, and if they just make the playoffs and hang around, and if they can just hang around the middle of the pack and get their revenue for the playoffs, they're just going to do that, and they'll just stop trying. They won't make a big splash. And the most recent example of that are teams like the A's and Rays, who are absolutely amazing, but they never spend money. The Rays were 2 games away from winning the World Series. What's the first thing they do? They get rid of Blake Snell. Why? I don't know, and that just pisses off the players because it's like, why are we not even trying to win? The A's don't try to re-sign Marcus Semien. I don't even think they're going to try to re-sign Matt Chapman. When's the last guy they've signed? No.
Send him across the bay.
Yeah, send him across the bay.
I'm ready for him.
But basically,
we're happy baseball's back, though.
We're happy baseball's back.
We get a fuck ton more games this year.
Exactly. And the owners are just trying to do a little sly bargaining to make it seem like they care more. But really, there's like a subliminal message that the players aren't biting. And Jeff Passan actually just tweeted like 3 minutes ago that baseball season will start April 1st as of right now. But that can always change.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll be back on that next week. And Big Dog, I was thinking too, what we can do is get some of these segments on Twitter or Instagram with maybe some video to accompany you. I don't know. We'll see. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to break down some NBA basketball. I know Josh is hyped for that. We'll be right back. All right, we are back here on the Pineapple Couch, episode 79. We're going to talk some NBA. Still joined by Big Dog and Josh Bilker. Josh, you're going to run a little point guard for us on the NBA segment today. Andrew and I have some notes and some thoughts, but we're going to let you be our captain. So take it away, my friend.
Yeah, I'll keep you guys involved as much as possible. So first off, we're at the quarter season mark. So cheers to that. We're not going to do the whole. I don't want to do the whole quarter season award.
Yeah,
because I just think it's dumb, especially this year. This has been such a weird year where the Grizzlies stopped playing for like 2 weeks, for instance, and like just players are out left and right because of COVID. Wizards been weird, et cetera, et cetera. We're gonna talk about all that and more. But first up, I want to talk about the Utah Jazz, which is I think the first that they've ever been like the
really
the
quickly.
runner. Yeah,
shout out to Stephen Facer, big Utah Jazz fan. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so this won't hurt, I don't think, but they just came off of 11-game win streak, just broken, I believe, yesterday by Nikola Jokic's Denver Nuggets. He had
started
47.
bad and came back.
Denver
lost they started 2-4 or something.
Oh, I thought you meant in that game. I was
no, my bad.
Jokic had 33 points in the first half. It was fucking incredible. Completely demolished Rudy Gobert. But I want to talk about this. This is my first question that I have written down, and I've circled it, underlined it. Do we believe in the Utah Jazz? So around the room.
No.
There you go.
I still think they're like a 5 or 6 seed.
Like what? They're going to make the playoffs and
They're
either beat a
first
shitty team in the first round or lose to a good team in the first round.
Well, so they're a good regular season team, and this is what I thought they would be last year with Mike Conley. And I think Mike Conley just took a while to get used to it because Mike Conley's having a fantastic year. He's been one of the best defensive players at the guard position this year.
Like if the Atlanta Hawks with Mike Budenholzer were in the Western Conference.
That's fair. That's
fair. Called the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference.
But they don't have Giannis.
They're the
Giannis
same
makes
shit.
it a little different.
Not really.
The Bucks' best player was freaking Al Horford. Al Horford and Giannis, that's a discrepancy. Sorry, Josh, keep going.
No, it's fine.
Okay, Big Dog. Well, let's get there.
That's a good comp, though. The Utah Jazz and the Mike Budenholzers. I just think it's going to be hard. This is their year, I think, but it's just going to be completely fucked by the two teams from LA that they're just not going to go. And maybe it's for the best that they go under the radar because they're that kind of team. Utah's that kind of franchise and market that it just doesn't matter. Donovan Mitchell's been playing pretty well. Rudy Gobert has actually, to defend Rudy Gobert, he's been, again, top of the league defensively on almost every metric. Leading the best team, anchoring that team, and they're a completely different team.
They're really well in the playoffs when he gets Steph Curry switched or Damian Lillard switched on him in a pick and roll. Can't wait for that.
And that's the thing is you have both those teams as a potential lower seed matched up in the first round. So that's not going to be good. So that's the thing is because they're going to be around.
That's the most Jazz thing ever. If they're like a freaking high seed and they somehow get the Warriors.
It'd be fucking. I mean, I have no love for Utah, really. Sorry, Steven. But it's Mike Conley though, and Jordan Clarkson's probably put himself in the 6th Man of the Year race. He's been unreal. He's literally been Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams for this Utah team. Just basically, he's able to do whatever the fuck he wants. They've benefited greatly from 3-point shooting, though. I think is the big thing. Is they're leading the league in 3-point percentage, just beyond the Clippers, I believe. But they're shooting it at a super high clip than any other team in the league. But that's my Utah Jazz rant. I'm with you guys. I think the Utah is going to be a great story in the regular season, but we'll see. I don't see them coming down and being in the thick of it.
Are they a potential player for Bradley Beal?
No. I don't see it. They've got 2 max deals with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. That's just too much money on the book, and I don't think they can afford him, first of all. And then they don't have enough pieces either. Plus, I mean, you'd want to. I think whoever trades for Bradley Beal hopes to re-sign him, especially. I mean, he's still got about 2 or 3 years left on his deal, but you want to see him as a complete home for him.
Are the Jazz or Bucks better? I feel like
the
the
Bucks
Jazz
by
would win.
far.
Oh,
but I feel like the Jazz would still win.
No.
If
Right
they did
now-
a 7 game, if the Jazz
No.
and Bucks were in the playoffs,
If they
I
played in the
don't
regular
care.
season, the Jazz.
I don't know what you guys are watching. I've watched like the Bucks. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. Giannis can't score when it matters. I love him, but he still can't score when it matters.
The Bucks. That what annoys you about them? Times that by 3 trillion, and that's the Jazz in the playoffs. Like yeah. I don't believe the Jazz. I'm very negative on the Jazz. Like in terms of the playoffs, and like I do not think your team can be considered like a legit contender if you're paying Rudy Gobert over $200 million. That
if you're paying
cancels
Middleton
you out.
$200 million.
Cancels you out in some way as well. But
Giannis
is better than Donovan Mitchell.
He's transcendent.
Like by far, he's a transcendent. That's why, Andrew, you have a transcendent superstar.
He's the top 5, top 3 player in the NBA. Like every year now, Giannis is for as long as he's good for it. He's that good.
He is.
Is he a top 3? I mean, like, isn't LeBron, Kawhi, and like, wouldn't you say someone else is better than him?
Well, I would say Durant one.
I would name those 3. I still think those 3 are.
I love Kawhi, but
I would personally rather
Giannis,
have Steph Curry too. But you know,
I think Giannis and Kawhi is still a discussion. I like Kawhi a little bit better, but it's definitely a discussion.
Kawhi's better. Kawhi has to be better.
I agree with you, but
Kawhi wins.
That's a good point.
Twice.
Well, I can't believe you're defending
Kawhi. It took LeBron in a while. It took MJ a bit. I don't know. Giannis is young.
He's 26.
Let's just go to the Bucks right now. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks built themselves like a ceiling and dug themselves in a hole by trading for Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong. He's dynamic defensively and underrated on the offensive end. But they traded for Jrue Holiday and paid like he was James Harden or Bradley Beal or Klay Thompson, like an all NBA.
It annoys me because they could have.
And he's not.
They could have got
not that value. He is not the value that they traded for him. And so now when Beal's available and Harden was available, the Bucks have no more cards left to play.
I don't know if Harden would have wanted to play with Giannis. They have some beef.
I don't even think it's about necessarily Harden. I think it's about Beal a little bit, but then also just the flexibility of the future.
I agree.
Because it's like they made.
Agree.
They put all their chips in right now.
The problem is they
don't do that for Jrue Holiday.
Yeah, they bought Jrue Holiday when he was at an all-time high value, and they're paying like you're right. He's an all NBA, all-star perennial. He's a one-time.
It's like
all-star.
The Warriors not saving money to get KD and then let's say they didn't have Iguodala, and they to get Iguodala, they traded everything they could possibly have. That's what it is.
So they're the 3rd best team in the East, is what you're telling me. The Nets, the Celtics, and then who? The Raptors.
76ers are better.
Sixers. The Bucks.
And then I would also the Heat in the play. The Heat. We'll get to the Heat, but the Heat in the playoffs, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not on Giannis. That's on your coach. And that's
but
on
if you're a
Chris Middleton
player like Giannis, yes, you should be able to win eventually. It's the same thing. It's like,
dude, Andrew, the Bucks are paying like the Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, big 3, as if it's like Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Curry, so that's why they're just fucked. Is because they have one guy who's transcendent, but the other 2 guys are not. I don't know. I think like one of them could maybe be the 3rd. Yeah, Holiday could definitely be the 3rd. I don't know. Do you think the Bucks could trade Middleton somehow and get Bradley Beal?
No, especially with their assets. Well, let's look up their. Sorry, Andrew. Let's look up how many draft picks they have, because they have their first round this year, and then they have theirs in 2 years from now, and then they have that's
30th.
That's it. But that's it. That's
rounders?
it. They have like 5 second rounders, but there's no way that's going to outbid anybody for Brad Beal. There's just so that's the thing. Is 2 first rounders and Chris Middleton is not going to get it done. Plus, if I'm Washington, I don't even want Chris Middleton because he doesn't fit my timeline. Period. What the fuck does he do for him? He just makes them marginally better. That just ruins their chances of getting a higher first round pick. They want to get a guy young that they can develop, or just a shit ton of first round picks.
Would you trade Chris Middleton for Kristaps Porzingis?
I think I would. I think
that'd be interesting.
No, No, because they wouldn't have a shooter then. Chris Middleton's their only good shooter. I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
No, I think Chris Middleton's a better shooter. That's the problem. They still don't have people that can just create shots like that. And it pisses me off. Chris Middleton's like I mean, obviously Giannis, but Giannis can't. You don't trust him shooting. Giannis is literally just the guy who just gets hustle points. Like that's it. Like he's amazing and he can do all these things, but he's just like hustling.
He's Drew Brees throwing those short completions in the regular season. He's Mike Thomas. No, he's Mike Thomas.
I still think
but my point is, if he's a transcendent talent, like if Kobe, like all these people, Kobe, LeBron, if he's that fucking good, he'd win. And maybe it's like it takes till you're 29 to do it, but I hate waiting that long.
Here's why I don't think that's right though, is he's not Kobe or LeBron or Steph Curry or any of these guys. He's a center. He's Shaq. He's those guys, and he's got to be
like
stopped.
Kevin Garnett.
Exactly. That's kind of who he is, and they should start using him like that more off ball.
But he's not a Tim Duncan. There's like I think it's important what you just said, Josh, because he's not like a guard or like LeBron. I'm saying is a guard just for the purpose of how he can control the ball. And stuff.
Yeah.
There's something so rare about a transcendent big man like Tim Duncan. I don't know if we're ever gonna see a Tim Duncan again.
Oh no, probably not.
It is like the more and more as this goes on, and we see guys like Giannis on his own. We see Anthony Davis fail. We saw Kevin Garnett through his career before he got to the Celtics fail in the playoffs. Tim Duncan needs a little more respect on his name. Holy shit. I know this is a side tangent, but if you think about what he did.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Tom Brady in a way where it's like Popovich, they haven't been relevant since. Like the big, right? It's the same kind of thing. The Spurs have not been relevant since.
With both those situations, Andrew, it was so weird to me. It was like, oh yeah, the Patriots are going to be the same. It's like, wait, you're taking away the greatest quarterback of all time, and they're going to be the same. And then it's like, oh no, Popovich is going to be the same in San Antonio without Tim Duncan. It's like, so you're going to take away the best power forward ever, and maybe the best team player like in the history of sports off the team is going to be the same. No, it's not. That's where people put way too much value into coaching.
Well, yes and no. The Kawhi Leonard part of that whole story kind of gets fucked over. It fucks over the whole Spurs and Popovich legacy. They did not plan on Kawhi Leonard breaking his fucking leg, I think it was, and then also requesting a trade immediately after that and wanting out of there. That wasn't part of their fucking plans at all.
No, I think what happened was the way the Spurs have people, like they treat their players, and the way it's all like, I'm not saying they treat their players poorly, but the way it's so regimented and so. Tim Duncan will put up with that. The only other superstar in NBA history who can kind of compare to Tim Duncan of who would put up with it is like Steph, because he's just like, he's not going to like bitch and complain. So what Popovich did wrong, I think, in that situation is he assumed Kawhi was going to be like Tim Duncan. And it's like, dude, Tim Duncan comes around like once in every 100 years. Like, I don't know. That's
absolutely
my piece on that.
No. I totally agree with you. I just think that they were good in the waning years of Tim Duncan after he was really relevant as far as like a transcendent or an all-star type player.
I felt he was still so important though.
Absolutely.
Even when he was on one leg and they beat the Heat, it was like the dude was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
For sure. Absolutely.
Can we talk about, Josh, the Mavs off in their slow start, because we mentioned Porzingis?
Yeah, we'll get into. Let's do that right now, I guess. I'll just do panic or no panic. Are we panicking on the Mavericks already?
So the Mavs are 8-12.
True. However, with a lot of COVID absences, they've probably been hit the hardest with role players, with injuries with Kristaps Porzingis, and then Josh Richardson's out, and I think Dorian Finney-Smith as well.
Yeah.
Potentially a lot of their glue guys were just.
Let me tell you why I am going to hit the panic button, Josh. Luka, nothing to do with Luka. Luka is a transcendent player who, if I could choose anyone in the league to start a franchise with, I would choose Luka. He's that good. He might not be in perfect shape to start the season, but he's been fine. He's obviously not the problem. What were you going to say?
I was going to say his turnover numbers are very high, and that's probably because he's doing too much.
He's doing too much because if you think about what the Mavs have done, what did they do this offseason? Well, they traded Seth Curry for Josh Richardson. Seth Curry is better than Josh Richardson. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's true. And like, especially with what that Mavericks offense was last year, the amount of threes they hit. Kristaps Porzingis was hurt and this is a question you're going to have every year for the rest of his career, is whether he's going to be healthy.
Yeah.
They haven't surrounded Luka with diddly squat. They have shit around him. Josh, the fact that you just had to say, like, oh, Dorian Finney-Smith has missed time, that's not on. But, like, the fact that we have to say that is bad. That's really bad. And they don't have anything around Luka. And the fact, like, I think what they thought was a little bit was like, oh, my God, we had, like, a historically great offense last year, so we can probably afford to lose Seth Curry. It's like, no, you have a historically great offense because you have historic offensive player in Luka Doncic, and you've surrounded him with shit. And you know what it reminds me of? How you surrounded Dirk with shit his entire career. And then Dirk bailed you out with an all-time run. That's the thing that needs, like, I love Mark Cuban, but that's something that should be said about the Mavericks. They fucking got rid of Steve Nash.
Yeah, that's the name I think that's even worse, is the fact that they got Steve Nash right before he was, he won like 3 MVPs in the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's also like, I know that I'm not comparing Steve Nash and Seth Curry, but as someone, like, if you watch, like, why the fuck would you trade Seth Curry for Josh Richardson?
No, I think that's a defensible move. I'm still going to stand behind this.
Josh Richardson was a bust last year in Philly, I thought. I had way higher expectations, and he shit the bed.
He was the only point guard that could actually, guard on that team that could shoot, and I think they gave him way too much of a role on that Philadelphia team was the problem. They gave the ball to him in way too many situations, and you need a guy around him that can create his shot for him, not him doing all the shot creation.
Yeah, well, so if you need someone else to create the shot for you, wouldn't you rather have Seth Curry being the one shooting it?
Yes, but also the defensive factor is the biggest problem. Is Josh Richardson is a very good defender. Seth Curry is not, and that was the Mavericks' biggest problem, was their defense was just bad. So they thought they could gamble a little bit. I agree with you. I think in hindsight now, I think the Seth Curry trade was probably bad. It was probably the wrong move. But also, Josh Richardson hasn't played either that much. He's probably, I should look up the stats, but I guarantee he's played less than half their games so far. So I don't think it's completely fair to make a judgment yet. Seth Curry's also missed some time, though, because he was actually positive with COVID.
And
he's looked better, to be fair, than Josh Richardson. But the defensive factor, they thought they could gamble a little bit with how good their offense was. They're like, oh, okay, we can afford to sacrifice a little bit of offense in exchange for better perimeter defense, especially because Luka's not a good defender either.
Yeah.
But it hasn't seemed to pay off.
I want to jump in because I think I see something here. I think what we're looking at is we're going to look at the Luka Doncic Mavericks era in 2 phases. This first phase that is not going to win them a championship, and we'll see how long it lasts, because phase 2 starts when you get rid of Porzingis. It's not working for the long haul. It was an exciting idea when it happened, but I think if you're the Mavs, you're definitely not re-signing him, paying him all that money.
Absolutely.
If I'm the Mavs, I'm trying to get any little value out of Porzingis and ship him, however, to maybe a team who's desperate. It's a shame he got traded from the Knicks, because that's who I would target. But I think that the Mavericks really need to take a step back. It's only been 20 games. They're 8-12. They could still totally make the playoffs.
Yes.
But I think long term, that this it's not like if KP starts playing a little better, the Mavs are going to all of a sudden go win the finals this year. It's not happening. They need to make some sort of changes. And I think Luka bails them out in a lot of ways.
He's 22 though.
To the Mavericks.
Still.
What are the odds?
That's still. I still think that the Mavericks are the hungriest team, one of the hungriest teams on the market, and I think they would easily outbid anybody just to make that happen if they want to capitalize on Luka.
Smart move. Is that a smart?
Yeah,
move?
I think so.
Beal is.
Yeah, for Brad Beal, if you can
so
add
you would
Brad
do
Beal,
virtually a lot of things and get if you can like package Porzingis.
If I could package Porzingis and like 2 first-round picks and maybe a second,
and get Beal, and
like
you got Beal
Josh
and Luka,
Richardson
and you're
or something.
feeling good. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of offensive firepower, that would be nice. But I do think the Mavericks do have a question to answer at the big position. But I think that you're going to be able to find bigs who aren't as expensive as maybe you think they would be.
Willie Cauley-Stein's been pretty good actually for them too.
Yeah, but that's a.
I know it's Willie Cauley-Stein. I agree,
Right.
but I'm.
Who was
like,
the player earlier who you mentioned where it was like that's a bad sign that we mentioned?
Dory Finney-Smith.
Dorian Finney-Smith. Yeah, see, Josh,
he's a good defender.
But credit to you because I mean I know these guys, but obviously I honestly did not know if Willie Cauley-Stein's having a great year this year. But the fact that we had to mention their names, Josh,
you're right,
is a bad sign.
Right, but they're just when you're playing alongside Luka and Kristaps on a good night or whatever, all you really need to do is just get your head down and grind. Really, I mean you're just gonna catch the finish when you can and then play hard defense. That's all you have to do. The Mavericks have a good shot, and again, Luka's 21-22 and on his third season. So, I mean, it's still, I don't want to, I mean, he deserves this kind of superstar treatment, this critical opinion that we've been giving the Mavericks because they do have already a top 10 guy, top 5 guy potentially in Luka Doncic. But I think let's hold the brakes. The Mavericks are still ahead of schedule, all things considered, I think.
Okay. So who you got next in panic or don't panic?
I got this was the team that I wanted. I just wanted to do a brief little talk about the Timberwolves because what the fuck?
Panic.
This is a for sure panic because here's the
I
thing.
hope they lose every game, baby.
Well, that's the thing though, is it's in their benefit to lose every game now, so that way they can keep their first round pick. Is the thing.
Shit.
That's the problem because it's a top 3 protected pick that they send to.
Is
Golden
it top
State.
3? I thought it was top 1.
No, it's top 3. Yeah, so. But that's still not a good sign.
Well, really quick, Josh.
Yeah.
Are any of us surprised pairing Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell fucking didn't work, and Anthony Edwards, who is the obvious kind of offensive bust of the draft, the pairing of you want to know how fucked up the player empowerment era of the NBA is? Somehow Karl Anthony Towns convinced a franchise to trade for D'Angelo Russell, and that's our future. It's what world are we living on that's
They're desperate.
Oh yeah, I'm Karl. What world is Karl Anthony Towns living on? Yeah, me and D'Lo, we do some damage. It's dude, what the fuck? You're a scrub. Actually, Karl. Let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns really quick. Karl Anthony Towns, man, you are so good at looking appealing while sucking. He's Karl Anthony Towns is a really nice whether it be a steak or really nice barbecue, right? Really nice barbecue. You look at it and you're oh, damn, that looks really good. And then it's just incredibly chewy or dry and it's just awful. Because you think about Karl Anthony Towns, oh shit, he's 7 foot. He can dribble the ball. He can shoot the 3. He's got a long wingspan. He should be able to play defense. It's no. Karl Anthony Towns is the biggest example of all time of a guy who just wants to get his stats and doesn't give a shit about winning. Oh, maybe he'll be no, I care about winning. Well, it's oh, okay, if you do care, you're really bad at it. So that's almost just as alarming. Karl Anthony Towns, let's here's what I'm going to say about him. I'm going to put a little label on him right now. Bust. Karl Anthony
will say,
Towns. Get your stats. You're not going to accomplish anything in the NBA ever. Karl Anthony Towns will never be an NBA champion. Karl Anthony Towns will probably never make it to the finals unless it's when he's 38, 39 on on the bench of a team. If Karl Anthony Towns will never accomplish anything of value in the NBA. Right here, right now, I'm saying that. Karl Anthony Towns sucks.
Just to defend him real quick, I think you're being a little too harsh
to defend him.
That's fair. I just do think that Minnesota's a terrible, terrible fucking organization, and they've ingrained bad habits.
And what Karl Anthony Towns thought was a good idea was I'm so good at basketball. I know what's best for this franchise. Yeah. I'm gonna tell him to trade all our assets to get D'Angelo Russell because me and him would be really good. This just shows how out of touch these fucking guys are. It's crazy.
Absolutely. No, and that's the reason.
The last time they made the playoffs or something, because it's did they ever make it with Kevin Love?
They made it with
Jimmy Butler.
Butler. That's the other biggest.
As the eights, that's
Jimmy Butler hated Karl Anthony Towns and playing with him.
And
do you trust Jimmy Butler's competitive opinion? Yeah, I do. Karl Anthony Towns is a scrub. Yeah, get your points. You're not going to accomplish shit in the NBA. Scrub.
I think they've enabled it though. Is what I
they're
think.
Gonna because that's what's gonna happen. I mean, is Karl Anthony Towns diving for a loose ball?
No, he thinks he's too pretty.
What's funny is that Draymond Green's gonna have a better NBA career than Karl Anthony Towns. Think about this, like the natural skills and like all that. Think about that.
You're right.
That's just that's a guy, Karl Anthony Towns.
It's sad.
It's sad. You're a waste of talent.
It is. And
I didn't know I was gonna go this hard on him, but like, if you think about it, like that's what I think about how talented he is, guys, or how he should. It's like they tried to compare this motherfucker to Tim Duncan.
He could be the best center in the league if he really tried and actually wanted to be, and it's just not going to happen.
Credits Joel Embiid. He knew right from the start that this dude was a freaking poos. Isn't that kind? It kind of comes down to that too. Is it kind of fucking pussy?
I do agree.
Panic all the way on the Timberwolves,
and that's the thing. I just wanted to bring up a team that was a for sure panic that we'd agree across the board. Because anytime you have to rely on draft odds, especially with the new draft odds being that it's all 14%, the top three is the top three worst teams all have an equal chance of the number one pick. It's not a good sign when you have to leave it up to the fates on your future, basically. And if Golden State somehow manages to get the fourth pick out of this, holy fucking shit. Holy fucking
they are.
shit.
Karl Anthony Towns is going to listen to this, and they're going to play so hard just to get like the 13th.
Karl Anthony Towns is going to have a hell of a March when they're eliminated from playoff contention.
He's going to win 4 games in a row for you just to put him right out of there.
They're literally between a rock and a hard place, though, because if they win and do better, their ceiling isn't playoffs with how they've started. It's
Which
maybe
means that their investment in Towns has been a bust.
Yeah, like no, you're right. No. I 100% agree. I just he's a distressed asset is how I view him. I think, and you view him as a complete bust. But I think he can still.
It's hard because he can like put up points, but it just. I don't think you're ever gonna get his value out of him because how much he's getting he's getting paid and all this sort of stuff. It's never like he's never gonna be actually like what he probably is. It's like a third or fourth, maybe fifth best player. Like how much better? Like legitimately, like this is gonna be a crazy thing to say, but like Andrew Bynum's gonna have like a better like big game career than him, and Andrew Bynum like. You know what I mean? Like he's just Karl Anthony Towns just exudes mediocrity.
You're bringing up guys though that had really great situations, and granted,
he's never going to be in a really great situation because he's getting paid $35 million a year.
Exactly. He's not going to win anything as the best player. I don't think, given his mentality, it's just not. He's got to completely change his whole mindset. Play defense.
If you put a guy like Bradley Beal on a team with Karl Anthony Towns, you think they're actually really doing anything? No.
I feel like this is the same team they had with like Wiggins because they have like Anthony Edwards. Like they just always have a couple big names or like the young rookies, and they just never do anything. Like they had Kevin Love, then they had Andrew Wiggins. They just don't do much. Ricky Rubio. Do they still have Rubio?
Professional
sports.
They
got Rubio back.
They got him back.
One of the worst professional sports franchises like of all time.
I think so, and that's the biggest thing. And the owner is selling the team right now and is actively fighting to keep them in Minnesota. Good for them, I guess, that he wants to keep Timberwolves basketball in Minnesota. But like I just think that this whole franchise just needs a restart button. They need a fucking mulligan right now on almost every decision they've made for the past 10 years probably since they traded KG. Failure. Yeah.
What's named one good decision they've made?
Bringing in Butler and Thibodeau, I think Thibodeau is literally, and then they fired him immediately after.
You guys remember when it took Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn, back to back in front of Steph Curry,
back to back. That's just
5-6.
They see
Johnny Flynn, Rubio,
like,
7 Curry. They got 2 point guards in front of Curry.
Well, thank God, because he would have been in that mix then. Steph Curry.
if Curry was in Minnesota,
Minnesota would have traded him after his first ankle injury. And they're like, this
you're
guy's
right.
a bust.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Josh, who you got next for us?
Yeah, let's move on to the Heat. You're very high on the Heat. I know, B-Rob. So
okay. Do you got the record for me?
No, but they just lost again tonight, so I do have it actually. Wow, a 7-13 right now. They are currently They're only 3 games back from 8th.
Mm-hmm. Here's why we're not going to panic with the Heat. The Heat play in the Eastern Conference.
That's
That's huge.
That's all you got to say.
Down. Yeah.
That is giant. And the other thing we need to think about with the Heat is that I think Eric Spoelstra is either the best coach in the league or the second best coach in the league, third best. I don't know. I'm that high on Spoelstra. And Pat Riley as a front office GM, the Heat are not afraid to make moves, and they will make moves if they can. I think Beal to Miami is possible. But I don't think the Heat are going to be like an 7-8 seed. I think they are going to correct. I think they're going to correct course. And I think that you match them up against pretty much any team in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs besides the Brooklyn Nets. They're going to go to war. They're going to war. No one expected the Heat to go to the finals last year.
Yeah.
They're going to war. It doesn't matter. You put Jimmy Butler in that squad as a 6-7 seed, you think they're just going to give up? No. They're going to go to war. So I don't think you're panicking, because I think if you're a Heat fan, the only team right now in the Eastern Conference where it's like, shit, they got us, is the Nets, in my opinion. Celtics look good, but I mean, 76ers, I don't know. I just think that the Heat.
Are they going to trade Simmons? Do you think?
No.
Is that going to happen this year?
I think the Sixers are going to ride it out. The Sixers are 15-6, playing fantastic.
But Simmons has not been good though. He's taken a step back this year, which is good because Joel Embiid's taken a step up.
Joel Embiid, 28.3 points per game, 11 rebounds, 1.5 blocks.
The
putting
biggest
up an
story
MVP.
It's Tobias Harris, though, I think is the difference maker, because I think Joel's always been able to do this. It's been a lot of injury concerns and an effort concern too, and he definitely seems to be wanting to do it this year. But again, it's Doc Rivers. He unlocked.
Brett Brown was a bad coach.
Yeah, they let him coach for like 3 years too long, and you might have.
That was for like 8 years, right?
Yeah, he was during all the tanking years, the whole fucking Colangelo days.
They tried to reward him for putting up with that bullshit, but he was just a bad coach.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Like Doc Rivers is crazy or anything too as that coach, you know?
No, and it's.
But I do think Doc Rivers is a good coach for the 76ers team in terms of motivating a guy like Joel Embiid.
That's the thing.
With Simmons not playing well, Josh, do you think they're going to move on for Simmons? I think they're going to ride this season out.
I don't know. See, the thing is, a lot of people, surprisingly, I didn't see this coming, were giving them shit for not pulling the trigger on a Harden deal. And I never liked it. I never liked Harden. Listen, like, obviously Harden and Embiid in theory could be really fucking good. But like, I just think that Simmons is potentially amazing, and I just don't want to give that up for Harden, especially with picks on top of that. I think you're just overpaying.
If I'm giving up Simmons, I want a bunch of assets.
Exactly.
And I guess James Harden is an incredible asset, but I don't know. I thought they made the right move in keeping Simmons.
I agree.
I think they did.
And I'm wondering if they still were waiting on the Beal situation to boil over before, because I think maybe they see this is the big move, because a lot of people actually valued Beal over Harden, and which looks like it might be the smarter move, to be honest. Even though Harden's been great
Beal
so far.
Certainly made the case the last 2 years that he was just as good as Harden. I don't know. It's not like Harden's playoff resume is anything to speak of. So,
and feels like 10 years younger almost as well on top. Not 10, it's like 7, maybe 6, but still, you're right. And I think if they can make that deal for Simmons without giving up more than 2 first-round picks, I think you do make that deal, because it just doesn't look like Simmons is been that great. But Simmons is still making.
Beal doesn't take over your offense in a negative light sometimes, like Harden might if he was in Philly.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. Because I feel like, Josh, don't you think if like Harden goes to Philly, like it's not like Tobias Harris is going to play better?
That's kind of the thing, is he needs to be. I think Harris is a very vacuum player where he needs like everything perfect for him to thrive well.
And I think Beal would be valuable.
That's been that. Exactly, because I think Beal is better off ball than Harden is. Harden needs the ball in his hands a lot more, where Tobias Harris can also handle the ball a good amount and create for himself, especially with Doc Rivers as his coach. But what the last thing is, before I completely condemn Simmons, he's still been amazing defensively. is still the big asset, but he's not nearly as good as what we hoped or thought he could be this season, given how good Philly's been so far.
Yeah, so that remains to be seen. Josh, let's do one more panic or no panic, and then wrap it up before we get to our album draft, because we're running a little bit long on time here. So who do you got last for us?
We'll do the Nuggets, because I want to talk about the Nuggets, because this is another Bradley Beal potential destination. And I am a little worried. They started off terribly, absolutely abysmal. Jamal Murray hasn't. They did, yeah. It's pretty on a pretty spectacular fashion. Credit to the Kings. They had that the Buddy Beal tip in that he missed that game-winning layup. Anyways, Nuggets. Jokic has been in the MVP discussion, top 3 player probably this season easily, averaging a near triple-double. Has maybe one of the best offensive seasons from a center since Wilt Chamberlain, depending on what metrics you use. It's like absurd how good Jokic has been. However, just the team around him has gotten worse. Porter Jr. has missed a lot of games, but even when he's played, he hasn't been good. It's very clear that they don't really like him. I don't think Denver likes Porter Jr. very much.
Porter Jr. doesn't seem like that many people like him.
No. I think you're right. Yeah, and so that's the thing, is he's their best asset, besides your first-round picks, him and maybe Bol, depending on... I don't even know where we are at in Bol's career.
I don't know either.
Yeah, but Jamal Murray has been just as inconsistent as ever, and the role players around him, like Gary Harris and who's the point guard that I can't remember.
Well, fuck! They traded Malik Beasley.
Monte Morris.
That's
the guy. He hasn't been good either. They've been shooting terribly. I just don't like this roster, and it worries me given how promising this young Nuggets team was. So I'm kind of hitting the panic button, and I think they need to be buyers in this trade market.
I think they need to. As we wrap up on this, I think that Jamal Murray last year in the playoffs showed us like how electric he can be. But unfortunately, one thing I'm a really big Jamal Murray fan, but one thing we've noticed this season is I think the Nuggets probably need a second star to complement Jokic, because it just remains to be seen whether or not we can count on Jamal Murray on a consistent basis.
Absolutely, and I'm betting against that. To be honest, I don't have faith in Jamal Murray.
Everything points to that being right, Josh, besides last year's playoffs.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And what he did in the playoffs last year was mesmerizing. It was.
I'm very clearly the victim also of the Jamal Murray show. So
yeah, he came back, man. Remember, didn't you guys lose in Game 7? Right? Yeah. You guys had a 3-1 lead.
Right, Josh?
I forget the exact numbers. It's it gets lost in the shuffle for me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Clippers Nation, always hurting. All right, gentlemen. Josh, Andrew, always a pleasure. Big Dog, Josh, we're going to have you guys on later in the week to talk about the Super Bowl. Big Dog, we look forward to your MLB piece next week. Josh, we look forward to hearing from you next week. I don't know. We'll figure something out, Josh. You and me should start writing in some way. Stay tuned. Got an exciting next hour here on the Pineapple Couch. Mitch Rincon will be joining me, and we're going to be drafting our 10 favorite albums of all time. Spoiler alert, I took a Rolling Stones album at number 1. All right, Big Dog, Josh, thank you so much. Love you, boys. We'll be right back here on the Pineapple Couch. All right, welcome on back to the Pineapple Couch with B-Rob, episode 79 here, and I'm joined by my good friend and fellow scholar of the musical arts, I could say. It is Mitch Rincon. Mitch, how you doing, my friend?
Good, but I hate that.
Scholar of the musical arts. It's kind of like Harry Potter-esque, is what I was saying it. I just tried to sound as pretentious as I possibly could to start it off. So, because that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be
is the work of professionals and poet laureates of sorts.
Yeah. So what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be going through our top 10 favorite albums of all time. And so it's going to be a mix of favorite and what you think is the best. Because, Mitch, I think we've talked about this before, but if something is your favorite, probably a little part of you thinks it's the best. There are some exceptions to that rule, obviously, but for the most part, I kind of think that way about it. So do you have any rules you want to go through? Or I guess we're doing a draft, so we can't take the same thing. Anything else you want to add before we go to this?
No, it's just yeah, we'll see how the draft goes because usually we go bottom to top, but I'm suspecting we're going top to bottom.
Yeah, top to bottom. So, Mitch, I'll let you kick it off. You are the guest. You have the first pick. Don't do what you just fuck me, because I know it's not truly your favorite.
So good.
I'm trusting you. You have the first pick. What is your number one album here in this music draft?
My number one album coming out of the state of England.
Nice.
The band with the blimp, I'm going Led Zeppelin 4, which is my favorite Led Zeppelin album. Although I live about 100 feet away from where the cover photo of Physical Graffiti was.
Mm-hmm.
Led Zeppelin 4 is just still my favorite and a powerhouse, and kind of,
I mean, it's hard to beat an album that's Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and Stairway on it. So that certainly helps.
Yeah, it's weird that like Led Zeppelin 4 is like technically their breakout into like big, critically acclaimed, I guess, which is pretty ridiculous, but it is.
They were coming out so fast though with albums in that phase, so maybe it was just like it was bound to happen eventually, and maybe 4 just was. I mean, I don't know. 4 is incredible, but I think 1 through 4 is all incredible. So, anything else? No.
I mean, we can go through like the songs. You already said Black Dog. Going to California is on that one, which is the pick of the bunch, I would say.
I'm a rock and roll guy.
Yeah, rock and roll rules, as I know you are. 4 Sticks, Misty Mountain Hop. It's a perfect album. Black Dot Rock and Roll, Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Top, 4 Sticks, Going to California, When the Levee Breaks.
When the Levee Breaks, too. Jesus. Yeah. That's a fire album. All right. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. Every album is going to be incredible because we're going through the top 10. But I'll start it off. I really won't even spend that much time on this because I've talked about it so much. I have Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. Came out in 1972. A double album. Obviously, they recorded this in the south of France after they left England for tax purposes. They also consequently went on the 1972 United States tour, which I think is really just, if I could go to any tour in the history of the world, I would go see that tour. And when you think about Exile, there's the bigger songs that come to mind, like Tumbling Dice, Sweet Virginia, Happy. But why Exile is so good is it has so many just deep cuts on it, from songs like Let It Loose, Shine a Light, the opener, Rocks Off, Loving Cup, obviously. Just a completely stacked album where it's a mix of that rock heavy Stones, but they still have that country flair in that era, which I like a lot. So yeah, Exile, number 1.
Yeah, do you still want to do a deep dive into Exile at some point?
Yeah, we could do like a legit, like deep dive into it, because
the true work of scholars.
The true work of scholars. Yeah, we should probably do that. I would like that.
All
right. What do you got at 2?
Number 2, I got another band by this, another album by the band, The Stones. I got Sticky Fingers, which I think is also perfect. I know me and you have,
I love
disagreements about 1 and 2, but it's all in the spirit of love, and but Sticky Fingers start with Brown Sugar, Sway, which is
Mick Taylor.
Yeah. Wild Horses, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, where they just let the rhythm section loose.
And Bobby Keys.
He's sax and horns are part of the rhythm section.
No, that's true. Good point.
Then You Gotta Move, Bitch, I Got the Blues, Sister Morphine, Dead Flowers, and then you round that baby off with Moonlight Mile.
Which is, I think Moonlight Mile is the most underrated Rolling Stones song because I feel like not that many people know it, and it's just an unbelievable like anthem. It should be on the level of a song. It's like You Can't Always Get What You Want, which is another one they have that ends an album. But that's a great pick. I mean, the 68 through 72 era of the Stones. I mean, the stuff they were putting out. I mean, honestly, if I'm looking at the list of all the albums, I'm gonna say, I think maybe over half of them came out between 1968 and 1972. So that obviously a fan of that era. However, I'm gonna go away from that era, Mitch, for my number two. I'm gonna go to 1979. I'm gonna go back to another double album. I'm gonna go back to the UK. London Calling by The Clash, an absolute gauntlet of an album in terms of different styles of music throughout. Like, obviously you have like reggae influences on that album, obviously the punk rock roots of The Clash. I mean, you go from songs like Rudy Can't Fail, Death or Glory, Lost in the Supermarket, The Right Profile. There's, I mean, Train in Vain at the end that they actually don't even list on the album art, and it's just the bonus track, which is great because it's one of their best songs. And I could go on and on.
I've been listening to Spanish Bombs a lot. That song rules.
Spanish Bombs, Lovers Rock is very good. It's just, I think it's The Clash at their best, obviously at their peak. And it's in a weird way is like kind of similar to Exile in the fact of it's a double album. And it's just kind of like Mick Jones and Joe Strummer really just kind of shine through more because it's kind of thrown together. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's not like a concise 9-song punk rock album. It's a sprawling, longer album where they show all their strengths really that you wouldn't necessarily know.
It's like it's so expansive and it's just all over the place, which is crazy.
It's a roller coaster. And I mean, yeah, London Calling is I have it number 2. It's just an unbelievable album. Mitch, to you.
I'm gonna go with another album of a band that could be considered from London, England. The year before 1968, 1967, with Jimi Hendrix with Are You Experienced?
Yep.
I don't think I could have a top 3, even a top 5 without Jimi Hendrix because he's just
of anything.
Yeah,
of anything. Favorite people ever. Best barbecuers. Maybe Jimi Hendrix was really good. You never know.
Yeah,
could be.
Man jumped out of airplanes. I don't know.
But yeah, it's a great pick. I mean, what we go through some of the songs on that?
Well, I mean, some all-timers. Start with Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, The Wind Cries Mary, Fire, Foxy Lady, Are You Experienced, Highway Child.
Wow, just so a very like casual album, you're saying.
Yeah, pretty low key. Just kind of runs under the radar. Ends with Red House, which is.
So that's the pinnacle of Hendrix to you, obviously.
That's tough to say. Like a 4-year career, but I guess
that's true.
And like some of his best stuff is like super bluesy and like super acoustic. A lot of like acoustic versions and like movie versions. But I mean, I don't know how like you can do much better than this.
Yeah.
In terms of a finished product of 17 Jimi Hendrix songs.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many more that could even come close to this.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about a couple what ifs as we go through this list, I'm sure, but Jimi Hendrix, I would say, is the largest what if in rock and roll history by far, not even really close.
Mm-hmm. Or if the I would say close second is if the Blue Boonies stay together.
Yeah, tough. One of those two. Okay, I'll match your Jimmy at 3 with another Jimmy at 3, and we'll stay in the UK. I'm going Led Zeppelin 2 for number 3 for me. Led Zeppelin 2 is kind of, I feel like, where Led Zeppelin like really takes their form. Led Zeppelin 1 is amazing. I'm not talking any crap on that. But I feel like a lot of Led Zeppelin 1 is kind of like almost like an extension of Jimmy Page's work with the Yardbirds. And then on Led Zeppelin 2 is when they kind of really hone in, and there's just like kind of an essence of American music, I would say, on Led Zeppelin 2 that is not as present on the first one with, like, I mean, you got songs like Livin' Loving Maid, Ramble On, Heartbreaker. You're going to start the album with Whole Lot of Love. And then my personal favorite as of late off that album is Bring It On Home, because they just take a little bluesy riff and then Jimmy Page sets it on fire. And it's just unbelievable. So I'll go Led Zeppelin 2.
Well, and like right before that, you have Moby Dick, where John Bonham just...
It's just an album where they're consistently setting things on freaking fire. Heartbreaker is absurd. The Led Zeppelin 2, just the thing, it starts and it never gives up. It starts with Whole Lot of Love. I believe the second song is What Is and What Should Never Be, which is an absolute backbreaker. Yeah, I think this is... I mean, no, that's not... Led Zeppelin does explore... not Americana, but American type music on Led Zeppelin 3, obviously. And then I think also you could say
Tangerine.
Yeah, and the Brawny R Stomp, I would say, is a little. But I really like the bluesy American style, I guess, of Led Zeppelin 2 with obviously that British flavor. So Led Zeppelin 2 at number 3 for me. Mr. Rincon, number 4.
Number 4, I'm going with Santana's Abraxas. It's an album that I could listen to a million times, just on repeat, and would be totally okay with that. It's like my number 1 album that I put on the record player, because it just so nice. It's so nice. It flows so well together. You have Black Magic Woman going into like Oye Como Va. And then you have other like Mother's Daughter just rips. And then you have like other stuff like Samba Para Ti that just flows and vibes, and Santana just puts some crazy stuff together, just combining like, you know, a Hispanic background with like all these like African beats and rhythms with like, yeah.
Is this 67?
70.
70. Okay, what was Santana's like? When did he start? It was like 66, 67? Or was it earlier?
Like, yeah, about. You have like Santana came out, the one with like the line on the front, came out in 69.
Okay. Santana was at Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, that's when they play what do they play? God.
Black Magic Woman?
Well, yeah, they play it, but they play Soul Sacrifice, and there's a video of it. That's when it was like, there's a story of them taking a bunch of acid for the first time right before that set.
Oh boy.
And they're just going. Like there's stories of Carlos Santana being like, yeah, I was like, his guitar turned into like a serpent's neck, and he's just like fighting the serpent as he's just wailing.
Yeah. Just a casual story.
Yeah. You have my favorite rhythm section of all time, just the dudes on the bongos, and it's just like, oh. Me and my dad just watched a video of, it was 81. It was a US festival in like San Bernardino, and there's a set of them playing, and one of their like percussionists is just wearing like an old school like wrestling like onesie and just ripping. Boy. It's just like this jacked Mexican dude wearing like a like Borat onesie.
Yeah, so that's
What do you got?
at 4, I'm gonna go back to the well. I'm going back to it. I'm going to the greatest rock and roll band of all time. I'm going back to them. The On this record, it says that this record should be played loud. And that is true. This album is called Let It Bleed. It came out in 1969. It starts with Gimme Shelter. It ends with You Can't Always Get What You Want. In between that, we get Love in Vain, Country Honk, Live With Me, Let It Bleed, Midnight Fucking Rambler, You Got the Silver, and Monkey Man. This is the Stones, literally their middle finger to the Beatles with Let It Be. I mean, the Let It Bleed versus Let It Be thing, I love it so much because it just shows. I'm gonna go on a little Beatles rant really quick. Why not?
No,
Fuck
yeah,
the Beatles.
for sure.
Fuck the Beatles.
I was
You know
just
what? The Beatles, they can talk all this shit, but it's like, you guys aren't real. You didn't go on the fucking tours. You didn't play music for the people. You sat in your studio and replayed all your songs a million times so they'd sound well, made a bunch of math equation type pop songs, and just automatically assume you're the best. I'm sorry. It's not a fair comparison where you're comparing the Stones and the Beatles when I take Midnight Rambler and compare it to I Want to Hold Your Hand. It's boys and men. You're not going to see a Beatles album on this. And John Lennon, first of all, he's dead. And second of all, fuck
well,
you.
So is
No, the shit he said about Mick Jagger and the Stones back in the day. I mean, talk about being out of touch. Good Lord. That dude's a fucking moron. So Stones, Let It Bleed, because you know what, Mitch? Let It Bleed is better
Imagine,
than anything that, oh my God, Imagine all the people. Fucking Harry Potter looking ass. Yeah. Fuck the Beatles. Stones at 4. Let It Bleed. Dude, I got this freaking book, the 100 albums by VH1. My buddy Sosa was moving some stuff and he just gave it to me. How the fuck is Revolver by Beatles at the #1 album of all time? That is absurd that Revolver is what you choose. Listen, Abbey Road is a great album. Abbey Road, great album. That's what you should put out.
Peppers.
Oh yeah, but freaking Revolver. What are we talking about? You could compare, Revolver's not even better than the Stones at like age 45 with Emotional Rescue and Tattoo You. Like, get out of here. But to go all the way back to Let It Bleed, a lot of American elements that Keith was taking out of this time on songs like Country Honk, obviously Let It Bleed, and then Midnight Ramblers, the rock opera anthem that no one else but the Stones could do. So that was my Let It Bleed at number 4 / Beatles rant. Mitch, number 5.
I liked it. I think we could just keep doing that for.
I mean, just go on a tour. tour for once. The Beatles love the studio because when they fuck up, they can just, it never happened. Oh, let's sip on our tea. Fuck you. Fucking play a live show, losers.
They played on the roof.
Oh yeah, for like 15 minutes once.
Yeah, they said F you to the man and did it, and then they got cut off.
Yeah, it says something that when U2 did that in LA, like 1 billion times more people went. So, who do you have at 5?
Oh, I hope you don't have U2 on here.
I don't. Joshua Tree is an all-time album though, but I don't have it top 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this. I wrote this down, so that's what I'm gonna do. Number 5, I have one that I feel like you'll have on here somewhere. It's much newer. We're gonna do Down in Heaven by the Twin Peaks. Was that your pick?
No, I had that a little farther down the line, but I did have that on there. Expand.
Have we done one on Twin Peaks before?
Yeah, we did a little Twin Peaks. It was a while ago though. Yeah, it was like a year ago.
Yeah. I think that was when I was in the attic, maybe. Yeah, Down in Heaven, just pretty much a perfect album, as are just about all of these on the top 10. But great dudes out of Chicago, great band. What we see as the next like Rolling Stones level of production and just longevity. But we'll see.
And groove. And like attitude, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, they love rock and roll music,
Mm-hmm.
and we love to see it. And we love to listen.
We love rock and roll.
So we start with a song that was one of my highest played probably for like 3 years straight. Walk to the One You Love, and then move into Wanted You, My Boys, Butterfly, You Don't, Cold Lips, Heavenly Showers, which is a peach. I know we have different favorite kind of styles of Twin Peaks songs, but they just kind of do everything because they have 4 songwriters and just unbelievable musicians around them.
They could write 5 different types of, or even more, 5 different types of an album. Like when you put together a 10-song Twin Peaks album, dude, I think they're going through 40, 50 songs.
Yeah, I mean that's why you get so many singles after, like Coffee and like
we got
Disappear.
And I Don't Want to Miss You. That was great.
But yeah, this album's like it's kind of all over the place too, like the Clash kind of stuff, or like the other kind of ones where we get a little deeper, where you have like heavy rocking stuff and like light stuff, like with Heavenly Showers,
Lolisa, compared to songs like Have You Ever, Holding Roses, Down in Heaven. I mean, it is my favorite album that has ever that came out when I was alive, and it's not really close.
Yeah, I mean, it's my highest rated one as well.
Yeah, so
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that album came on the same freaking day as a Coloring Book too.
Coloring Book. Yeah.
Yeah, what a wild day that was. Anything else on Down in Heaven?
Did a better job.
I do too.
Twin Peaks took that day.
They won that day from in the Chicago standpoint.
Oh, that is funny that they're both Chicago. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anything else on that before we go to my number 5?
No, go for it. I'm sure we'll talk about this at plenty of times.
1972, Los Angeles, California. L.A. Woman by The Doors. Okay, so a couple things about this album. You can very easily convince me that L.A. Woman is the best song of all time. Just in terms of how great of a rock song that is, you can make the argument. And it's I would probably end up saying, like, you're picking between such great things at number 1, but there is an argument for L.A. Woman. But you think about other songs on that album. The Changeling, Hyacinth House. Let me pull it up really quick because off the top of my head.
Riders on the Storm.
Riders on the Storm. You have The Wasp, Radio, correct? What else you got? Oh, but Been Down So Long. Cars Hiss By in My Window. Crawling King Snake. It's just it's the finest, I think, of the Doors. It's the most heavily they lean into the blues, and if you can tell that I like when it's bluesy rocky. Jim Morrison, R.I.P. I mean, maybe the second biggest What If, or third, excuse me, Blue Boonies.
Third, Blue Boonies.
Yeah. Jim Morrison, this is the last thing they made as the Doors. I think the scream on the opening track, The Changeling, is like maybe the greatest scream in rock and roll history. My dad always argues and says this won't get fooled again, Roger Daltrey, which is a good one as well.
I think he has a point.
I like the Jim Morrison. So yeah, The Lizard King, L.A. Woman, The Doors. That will conclude my top 5 as we go to the 6 through 10 range now.
Number 6. What do I got? 6, I got California Band out of Oakland, California, with roots of Southern rock. This is fun where I do stuff and I see your face trying to figure it out.
An Oakland band, a band out of Oakland with roots in Southern rock. Oh, fuck you. Damn it. I know.
Number 6, I'm going.
You literally that is on my list. That is my number 6. That's crazy. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going Cosmos Factory by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Is this a double? It's 14 songs, but
It might be a double.
I don't know. But probably the band that I've been listening to the most recently, Creedence Clearwater, and I know we've talked about that before, but it's just absolutely stacked. Ramble Tamble, traveling band, looking out my back door, run through the jungle, Who'll Stop the Rain. I think your favorite song in the album, I heard it through the grapevine.
That or Long as or actually Run Through the Jungle might be.
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
kind of like sometimes I'm just being honest with you and the listeners. When I'm playing bad in a video game, I have to like not listen to the video game, and I have to blast a certain type of music to pump me up. So like, let's say I'm not playing well in 2K. I'm going to bump some Drake or Kanye or something like that. If I'm not playing well in COD, it's Run Through the Jungle. You blast that in your ears, and that is how I get going. So yeah, it's a little story about me. When I was younger, really quick, there was do you remember the Disneyland racing game for like PS1, PS2?
No.
Unbelievable game. So good. But
Disneyland
point of that
racing?
Yeah. It had like all the different rides were different courses. So the haunted house
like
course,
Bandicoot.
kinda, yeah. The haunted house course scared the crap out of me.
Mhm.
Scared the crap out of me. So what I would do as a young boy is I would turn off the spooky music and I would blast Highway to Hell by AC/DC as loud as I could. And I'm like 7, and just racing my way through Disneyland. So that's my tangent there.
You're a strange child, huh?
I still am. Always have been. Mitch, back to Cosmos Factory. But I mean, it's a great choice. I had it at 6. It's a great choice.
6. I mean, the band rips. I just watched their Woodstock concert the other day. I think I sent it to you too. But like, you don't realize that John Fogerty just is CCR and just like
The
lead
run he
guitar, lead vocals, harmonica. Just writes the songs, composes, puts it together, produces.
There's a 5 to 6 year run of CCR. Maybe a little less, right?
Yeah, maybe a little less.
It's like 67 to 72 or 71 is what I want.
Well, I mean, in like popularity, I mean they had like a.
Well, I mean, they took
like
a
an
break
11
after their he went his own way, I thought.
Yeah, but I mean like before, like they had a 11-year backswing of like doing stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes like name different things, but what was I gonna say? Oh, dude, it's so funny watching his Fogerty's like YouTube videos on his channel. Have you watched those?
He's like playing songs with his kids.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome.
It's so they're like in the van and they're like he tells like this 10-15 minute story about like his like Woodstock experience, and then he's like, and then I went home and I wrote this song, and he plays, I forget what he does, but he's like with his kids. His kids are just sitting there for 10 minutes as he's just being old and just telling his story.
Talking for forever.
There's this other one where it's he's at Dodger Stadium. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
He's at Dodger Stadium and stadium's empty, and he's in the outfield, and it says like happy 75th birthday, John Fogerty. And he's like talking about
Dodgers fan? He's from Oakland.
I don't know. I know. It was kind of weird, but I guess they probably live in LA now. But he just tells this whole story about like again, like him wanting to be a baseball player when he grew up and stuff. And then he like walks to center field and like his kids are there, and then he plays center field with his kids.
Yeah. And we're also big fans of the troops here on the podcast. And shout out to Fogerty. He did go to Vietnam. And that was also shown a little in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah, it's funny too how he like ripped Trump about like Trump playing his songs and stuff. And he's like, I don't want you to play my songs, man. Like these songs are about douchebags like you. It was pretty funny. That dude is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say was a really cool way to look at his personality is there is this him and Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top.
Yeah.
They went on a tour together, and they have this video where they're like awkwardly like talking to each other, like check this one out. And it's like them playing all these like amazing riffs,
Dude, I
but
just
it
watched
just
that the
seems
other
like a
day.
great dude.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so that's a great pick by you, Mitch. I am now. You've taken 2 of my picks already, so
yeah.
I know what I'm doing though. At number 6, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie. This album, can you believe that stupid book I got, it has that at 48? How would that, in what world does that album go to 48?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
that's
know.
insane. But
What's that?
let me go ahead.
No, go.
Okay, so the album starts off with 5 Years, which is an incredibly sad song, but lyrically is a roller coaster and very fun to follow along with. Fun fact, in high school, we had to like do this thing where you analyzed a poem, and the teacher specifically said like you can't do songs. And this one kid didn't give a fuck, and he literally just walked in front of the class and read the lyrics of 5 Years by David Bowie. It was hilarious. And
Who's
so
that dude rules.
yeah, Capper Durham, I think is his name. I wonder what he's up to. But I'll go through we got other great songs on here. You got Moon Age Daydream. You got Starman. It Ain't Easy, which is a very powerful, underrated song. You got Lady Stardust, Hang On to Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, and Rock and Roll Suicide. I also, another fun fact about this is when I was in like, when I was in 4th or 5th grade, there was a talent show, and I really wanted to just go up and play Suffragette City on Guitar Hero or Rock Band on electric or on Expert or something, and be like, look at how sick I am. But that was vetoed because of the wham bam thank you ma'am line in Suffragette City. Really one of the, I mean, we're talking about what ifs in rock and roll history. If a young Brian Robbins was allowed to go take the stage and play Guitar Hero on Expert of Suffragette City, I'd probably be like super famous right now.
You were playing on Expert?
I don't know. For the purpose of this story, I'm saying I was playing on Expert. God knows what I was playing on. Yeah, I was actually playing an easy, and I was playing bass in Rock Band.
Dude, that would be the funniest thing if you go up and just play the Rock Band drums
on easy
for the talent show.
What a time!
I
I really thought
why
it was a great idea.
So
But yeah, that's 6. It's one of the most iconic albums of all time, and it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes albums are so iconic in terms of whether it be the name, the artwork, and sometimes it's like, does it really live up to it? Of like the story and all this stuff. Like, because I'm gonna take another shot at the Beatles.
Okay.
Sgt. Pepper's does not live up to the stuff around it. It's good, does not live up to what it's supposed to be. I'm just saying. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars holds up to just the grand story, I guess, that comes out with it. So that's Beatles shot number 2. Anyone keeping track at home?
Well, I think that's Beatles shot like number 7 or something.
Well, how about here's number 8. Fuck you, Beatles. Mitch, what do you got at 7?
Oh God. 7, I have something a little different. It's something that I'm sure you don't have on yours. I'm going Days Have Gone By, Volume 6 by John Fahey. One of my favorite albums of all time. This dude is an absolute just guitar genius. I don't know we talked about
the finger picking legend?
Yeah.
There's a lot of finger picking, like acoustic?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just making sure I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about this guy before, and like I don't know if it was our like top guitarist or
I think it was top guitarist.
But this dude rules. This album from '67. You have Revolt of the Dyke Brigade, Impressions of Susan, John Kirby Blues, and then there's like 2 songs where it's just like just train sounds. and then
With
just
guitar or just train sounds?
like 90% train sounds and like 10% guitar.
Soul sister. Not that type of train sound.
not that.
Okay.
I don't think that was around in 67.
True.
But yeah, great album art too. It's just weird, but crazy dude. Just like when he plays a lot, walk up and sit down on his chair, and there's like all these microphones set up like perfectly. He just grabs them and moves them, and then just like kind of sits down and like tunes as he's like starting. Like it looks like he just like got out of a car and is just like going and
like, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So that was 7 for you, correct?
That was 7.
Okay, I'm gonna go at 7. Van Halen 1. Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Feel Your Love Tonight, Jamie's Crying, Ice Cream Man. You're no good's on the second one. But that album is one of the most explosive hellos in the history of rock and roll. It's like, hey, we're Van Halen. Now for the next 10 years, everyone is going to try to be like us. Literally. That was the 80s. It was like, wow, Van Halen's really cool. Let's try and do it. It's not going to work if you don't have Eddie. But I mean, this album is just an absolute masterpiece, and it just was such a giant arrival. And obviously, rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen, one of the greatest guitar players ever. I do think that this album, though, the things about Van Halen that are overlooked, obviously you have Eddie, who's unbelievable, and David Lee Roth with his screams. But Michael Anthony is one of the best background vocalists in rock and roll. Such a huge influence from the Beach Boys there, and you can definitely hear it. And then Alex Van Halen, the drummer, he's one of those drummers that, like, when you hear John Bonham, you immediately can say, like, oh, that's John Bonham. Alex Van Halen, I'm not saying he's John Bonham, but when you hear him playing drums, oh, that's Alex Van Halen. You can tell. So, Van Halen 1 at 7. Just an absolute gem of an album. I think it's either came out in 76 or 78.
78.
Okay. 78. Yeah. So that's who I have at 7.
Not too bad, Brian. Not too bad of a team you're putting together.
Yeah, you know me.
What are we on? 8? My number 8 is kind of close to the last one I did. I'm going with Towns Van Zandt, self-titled album. Just an absolute just legend of kind of folk country music. Just unbelievable songwriting and lyrics. Definitely when people say like, oh, I'll listen to anything like besides country. And it just pisses you off. It's like this. Well,
because when people say that, they're talking about like Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
Like you don't know who like Hank Williams is or like all this like actual good shit. It's like they're thinking about Truck, yeah. That's what they're thinking about. Truck, yeah.
They need some music appreciation days with Mitch and Brian.
Wait, is Tim McGraw related to Dr. Phil? No, right?
Okay. What world
Dr.
would
Phil's last name McGraw?
In what world do you think I know this information?
I don't know. I just thought of it. I think they have the same last name. What a world that would be. I doubt it. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Wait. You're starting a theory that may be true. I have no idea. That Tim McGraw and Dr. Phil.
That's his dad. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm going with.
All right. I have no idea, but that would be amazing. Oh god. Back to Towns Van Zandt.
Yeah.
Album 1969. Starts off with For the Sake of the Song. Waiting Around to Die is amazing. Colorado Girl, Lungs, I'll Be Here in the Morning, Fare Thee Well, Miss Carousel, Quicksilver, Daydreams of Maria, and that ends with None But the Rain. Just a masterpiece of folk country music. There's a really good documentary. I forget what it's called, but it follows him. He's like the main dude that they follow, but it's all about these like kind of folk country artist back in like
Mm-hmm.
I forget what year, like the 70s. But yeah, dude, this dude like just he's from Texas and he just like left his like society and just lived with a horse for like a couple months just out in just the
Casual.
Texas wilderness.
Yeah.
There's in the documentary they go to his house and he's just like giving them a tour around his farm
Mm-hmm.
and he's like talking to the cows and shit. And then they like go inside and he plays a couple songs. He plays Poncho and Lefty, which is a different song or a different album. Then he plays Waiting Around to Die. He's like, this is the first song I wrote. And his neighbor is over there with for someone else. But his neighbor's over there. He's like this old, like maybe 70, 80-year-old black dude. And he's just sitting there and Towns plays this song Waiting Around to Die. And this dude just starts bawling.
Oh, damn.
Because it's just an amazing song. But yeah, that's Towns Van Zandt.
And you had that at number 8?
That's my number 8.
All right. At number 8, I'm going to follow Van Halen 1.
With Van Halen 2.
No. I am, though, going to follow it up with a track I referenced earlier in terms of Disneyland racing. I got Highway to Hell by AC/DC here at 8.
Wow.
Just an like the last album with Bon Scott, may he rest in peace. Bon is gone, but Angus rocks on.
Mm.
Obviously, you have the song Highway to Hell to start it off with, but then this album is just unbelievably stacked. Girls Got Rhythm, Walk All Over You, Touch Too Much, Beating Around the Bush, Shot Down in Flames, Get It Hot, If You Want Blood, Love Hungry Man, Night Prowler. Just an absolute Angus just with his chef's kiss masterpiece in terms of guitar work. Unbelievable stuff in songs like Walk All Over You. That video is absolutely absurd because Angus just does this thing when he plays guitar and solos and he like dances, but he kind of like skips to the side. It's just unbelievably awesome.
It's a Chuck Berry move.
Yeah, but it's like Angus is doing it like while he's on like battery acid or something, like some shit like that. But just an absolute great album. Kind of like a bit like unnerving that Bon Scott wrote this album and then died, but the legend lives on. Just I mean, it's hard to put into words like just how great and how legendary Highway to Hell and that whole album is. So that's why I have it 8.
Can we talk a little bit about Angus Young's little shorts?
Oh yeah, his like it's crazy. He still wears them. I saw this video from like 5 years ago, and he's still wearing those shorts. And it's like, damn, your legs are white, bro. Like, you're like 60 something.
That's so funny. Just him with like his necktie like all loose.
Yeah, never got rid of it. Never
a little
got
hat,
rid of it.
little cap. One of the best looks in music history.
Yeah, that and Jack Black plays homage to that in School of Rock. Yeah. But the high voltage, their first album, that with him in the schoolboy costume with the tongue is just so freaking great. Because he's like 17 at that time. Like he was so much younger than everyone. Because his older brother Malcolm was like the rhythm guitarist. So AC/DC Highway to Hell at number 8 for me. Mr. Rincon.
Yeah, me and my dad, like growing up, we used to just always watch just like live concerts. So we always watched like the Zeppelin 4-1 or like The Song Remains the Same, and like Heart, a lot of Heart.
Straight out for you.
Yeah. But one of the like main ones that was always on was AC/DC at in I think it's Madrid at like the bullfighting arena.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god, that video is amazing. Anybody that
AC/DC just gets you so freaking hyped.
Yeah, that's one of the best live performances ever. Yeah, all right.
You got 2 more.
Number 9, I'm going a different way than we have been. I am going with The Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. A little pivot from our rock and roll list, but absolute wonderful album. '68. One of the best, like lead singers and just stage performers of all time. Who also, I think he might have been a 27er.
27 Club.
I don't
Rest in
remember.
peace.
And then he died in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. Home of the Badgers.
And my ex-girlfriend. Hello, Adrian.
Yeah, shout out to her. I'm sure she's listening.
Yeah. Very funny. So this album with Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, which definitely holds its own in the history of music. And then a song, like you'd think that like no song can follow Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, and then you get I Love You More Than Words Can Say, which is whew, that really gets you going. And then you got like Let Me Come Home, The Glory of Love, which live is just unreal. And then Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, that's been done by a bunch of different people. But yeah, Otis Redding.
I like it.
Number
Very solid
9.
pick there. So my draft has just gone all over the place. I can't leave this album on the board. I was saying I was gonna do it, but number 9. I'm taking Some Girls. I love it too much. I love Some Girls by the Rolling Stones, 1978. You get Miss You. You got Just My Imagination, Beast of Burden, When the Whip Comes Down, Lies. You have what's the Keith song on that one? Before They Make Me Run, Faraway Eyes, just respectable. Just some absolute bangers. The Stones embracing a little disco. You love to see that. An unbelievable album to make when you're like 38, 39, 40, I think is what they were around that time. So Some Girls by the Stones. Said I wasn't going to take more than 2 Stones albums, but I just can't leave Some Girls on the board. So number 9.
That's your third.
Yeah. No, it's my 4th. Sticky Fingers, I would say, is 2. I would go Exile, Sticky, Let It Bleed, Some Girls, Beggars, Goat's Head Soup.
Sure, yeah.
I think about this constantly.
It's really funny that you just pulled that out.
Yeah, I just constantly thinking about it.
Well,
what do you?
I thought I'd only do one Stones album, but give people a more well-rounded list. But I guess if you want to be in control of your own podcast, that's all right.
Yeah, that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Who do you have at? You're at 10. Who's your last one?
I have Freewheelin' by Bob Dylan.
Ooh.
Which I don't know. There's not much to say. That's it. That's it. That's my pick. Next.
I like that.
Nothing. Just all timer. 1963. You have Blown in the Wind. Probably my favorite of all time. Girl from North Country. Masters of War. Don't Think Twice. It's All Right. Honey, Just Allow Me One More Chance. I Shall Be Free. I mean, I think people already understand Bob Dylan's place in
importance.
Just not even just musically, but maybe we'll do a Bob Dylan podcast later.
We definitely could. We can make that one longer too, because there's a lot to certainly say. We could do a whole freaking Bob Dylan contest on the Newport Folk Festival or whatever when he went electric, and that would be very fun. That would be electric. Sorry. We must be getting to the end. I have 10. All right, here's my last pick. 10. I'm going to take an album, and this is a little controversial. I feel like everyone's favorite album by this band is not what I'm about to say, but I can only be myself.
Okay.
So, number 10, 1979, The Wall by Pink Floyd. I freaking love this double album. It's unbelievable. You start out with In the Flesh, Thin Ice, Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, The Happiest Days of Our Lives. Literally, I think the best transition maybe in all of music ever is The Happiest Days of Our Lives into Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. Like, it's just unbelievable how that goes. You got songs like Mother, Goodbye Blue Sky. My personal favorite off the album is actually Run Like Hell.
Sure.
And you also have songs like, obviously, Hey You, Comfortably Numb, which is just a legendary song. Is There Anybody Out There? Nobody Home, Vera, Bring the Boys Back Home, The Show Must Go On. It's like that album, I feel like birthed Tame Impala, if that makes sense. But obviously Dark Side, like, I don't know. Dark Side is unbelievably great and equally as important. I kind of just like The Wall because I feel like it's like almost like an 80s take on Dark Side, if that makes sense. And I just am a sucker for double albums, as I've said. So I'm going to take The Wall at number 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say your use of the double album is really admirable.
Give me more music. I gotta say, honorable mention to Physical Graffiti. Very tough for me to leave that off. You got any honorable mentions for us, Mitch, before we wrap it up?
Definitely, but The Wall, also as a child, my hippie aunt would always take us to go to the fairgrounds and watch Laser Floyd. It was always The Wall. They did a whole Wall show and it freaking ruled. Dude, I have 23 honorable mentions.
Go through 5 and then give your completed list of 1 through 10.
Okay. 1, I don't know if this counts. I want to say it counts, but The Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Volume 1. So,
I mean, I can't argue with that. That's good. Kind of like the Steve Miller has a great greatest hits album too.
And then I have The Strokes, Is This It? Mad Villain, Mad Villainy. I have the Girls album, and 5, I have No Love, Deep Web by the Death Grips.
Very nice. You want to give us your
Death Grips, not the Death Grips.
1 through 10 list now?
So that's leading off. We have Led Zeppelin 4, batting second, Sticky Fingers 3, Are You Experienced? Abraxas, Down in Heaven, Cosmos Factory, Days Have Gone By, Volume 6, Towns Van Zandt, The Dock of the Bay, Freewheelin', The Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Volume 1, Is This It? Mad Villainy, Girls, and No Love, Deep Web.
All right. I'll add some honorable mentions before I go through my 10. Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. It was really tough for me to leave off there. Damn the Torpedoes by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Suck It and See by the Arctic Monkeys. The College Dropout by Kanye West. And Second Helping by Leonard Skinner. I
was surprised that you didn't put any Thomas Petty on the list.
It was tough. It came. I know it's tough. Damn the Torpedoes is like what everyone says is his best album, but a part of me likes his first one the most. But then sometimes I like Hard Promises the most, so it's tough. He's an honorable mention. He's on the honorable mention, so we'll go with that. To recap my 1 through 10, Exile on Main Street, London Calling, Led Zeppelin 2, Let It Bleed, LA Woman, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, Van Halen 1, Highway to Hell, Some Girls, The Wall, and then honorable mentions would be Highway 61 Revisited, Physical Graffiti, The College Dropout, Suck It and See, Damn the Torpedoes, and Second Helping. So a lot of good tunes here, folks, for you to listen to. We'll put together a Spotify playlist that I'll post along with the pod. Because this is a massive playlist that we just created, and it's going to be certainly a fun one to shuffle through. Mitch, before we wrap up, I just would like to let you know or get your opinion on it. I doubt you know this, but you know that Fernando Tatis is on the cover of MLB The Show?
I did.
Youngest player ever and first Padre ever to be on the cover.
Go Dads.
Go Dads. We'll wrap it up with that. Mitch, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. We got to do Led Zeppelin. We got to do a lot of things. We'll tease this for listeners. We're talking about doing some sort of music video thing where it'd be a podcast, but also on like YouTube or something, so we could show a little bit. We'll see. All right, Mitch. God bless, my friend.
Adios, senor.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Goodbye. Toodles.
you.